there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/entitled Parent Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, Karen's sister demands to live with me. After that, entitled Mom demands that I let her kid use my expensive binoculars. And after that, 35 people walk into a pub. Sadly, this isn't the setup for a joke. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to live with you. I'm perfectly content where I'm at, Reddit boy. So please smash that like button. And if you're new, subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen's sister demands to live with me. My sister, 22, married her boyfriend, 24, of 5 months a year ago. He doesn't have a romantic bone in his body and is a dense football player type. I asked my sister before she got married if she was sure about this, as they hadn't known each other very long, and I really wanted her to go to college. She had a family member offer to pay off her complete schooling. I offered to buy her a laptop and help with a car if she went to school. I thought her boyfriend was kind of meh, and told her on many occasions so. But she chose her boyfriend and wanted to get away from our parents, which I understood, and I did too, but by going to college. 6 weeks after getting married, she got pregnant. She didn't know it could happen that fast. I blame our parents and Christian education. She was thrilled though, and I tried to be happy for her. I worried for her financially and support her emotionally throughout the process. I threw the shower for her, bought her hundreds of dollars in gifts, and helped with anything I could. I moved about 9 hours away after the baby was born due to my husband's work. We bought our first home and we're finally financially secure. I'm a teacher with a master's. He's a software guy. My sister has been calling me night after night crying about how unhelpful and unromantic her husband is. He's a cabinet guy and she works at a daycare, so she can't afford a house like me at the moment, and she's upset about that with him. She doesn't want to be around him or let him touch her. He's a good, loyal guy, but unromantic. Didn't buy her a birthday gift, but took her for dinner. He takes care of his son and works, but doesn't make a lot at his job. She keeps comparing her husband to mine because he really treats me well and is quite romantic, and because he can afford to buy the things I want. Not that I ask for a lot, but we really had to work for our house and are in our late 20s. I've offered to pay for marriage counseling and personal counseling, as I feel like she may have some post-birth depression. She says because of the baby, she feels trapped. I told her that if things got bad, she could stay with me. Because she doesn't have a car, I'd have to do the 18-hour round trip with her. After I said that, she said she wanted to come for 2 weeks to scare her husband into doing better. Like, to me, that's childish, and I said no. My house is for if you are done. She got upset and said I'm not being here for her. But I'm not going to expel my time and energy to teach her husband a lesson. She called me back and said she's putting her husband on a 30-day trial and will live with me if he doesn't change. I just don't see what's so wrong with him. She's told me everything, and I'm just not wanting her to live with me now. I have 4 cats who are my babies, and she hates cats, and I feel like she's being childish, and I don't want to be a part of her game and waste my time. Update. When my sister called me tonight, she's been with a realtor looking at houses with her husband. I don't know how they are ready for that. I told my sister that I was not going with her 30-day trial and that she can't be playing games like this in her marriage. It's not healthy and the same BS our parents pulled, and that I wanted no part in it. I will pay for counseling if she needs it. I offered again, but stated that living with me was off limits. I told her she has a good man and that she needed to talk to him about her issues more, and they can make compromises together. I also talked to her about how crappy taking their son away from her husband would be. She was a bit short with me, but I think she understands. I love my sister, but I can't be the grown-up for her. I have my own life. I just want to say thanks, guys, for the advice. It's really helped me. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you let your sister move in with you or not? Please let us know. I kind of feel bad for her husband, to be honest. Entitled Mom demands that I let her kid use my expensive binoculars. My lockdown hobby, to get me out of the house and maybe learn something, has been bird watching. I usually go out with binoculars, a bird guide, and a field notebook to write down what I've seen that day. It's a good solitary activity that gets me in the fresh air, communing with nature. I had a pair of small, not-so-great binoculars when I started, but decided to upgrade to a much better pair with all the money I'm saving not going out, or seeing people or doing things. FYI, good binoculars are pretty pricey. So I'm at a nearby bird sanctuary with a pond. The railings are extra wide, which is nice for balancing your guide and notebook easily, and I'm leaning on it, checking out the waterfowl, checking the guide, and making notes. A mom and her kid come down the boardwalk, and the boy comes over to me. "What are you looking at?" "These birds," and I name a few species that I see and point. He's around 7 or 8. "Can I see?" "Sure, they're just right there," pointing again. "No, through those." Oh crap, this kid wants my new expensive binoculars during lockdown. "I'm sorry, but no," I cheerfully tell him. Now, I don't know if in non-lockdown times strangers ask to share binoculars with strangers, but I'm completely uncomfortable with this. I also have zero problem with the word no. Meanwhile, this kid looks like I've just spoken to him in a foreign language. I just go back to what I'm doing and the kid goes away. Of course, I hear the throat clearing of the entitled mom. "Little Johnny says that you won't let him use those binoculars to see the birds." I do note that she said those and not your, which grated. Her mask is hanging from one ear. Super useful. "Why, that's correct. I won't. Thank you for understanding." "Well, how will he learn if you won't let him use those binoculars?" Maybe you can get the equipment and guides, and you can learn together." "But we are here now, and he wants to see the birds." "Yeah, still not gonna happen." "That's not fair." "Lady, it's completely inappropriate for you to demand for me to share my expensive gear, especially during lockdown. No amount of your grousing is going to change my mind. Also, you are standing way too close to me, so please back away." And I went back to what I was doing. But my peaceful pastime is now kinda grr. I quickly got over it because I saw a wood duck. Also, there are so many birds. I had no idea. Speaking of birds, I wonder if Birds 3214 is here today. We always appreciate our loyal listeners who tune in day after day. 35 people walk into a pub. Sadly, this isn't the setup for a joke. So this happened a couple of years back in a pub I was working at. I worked the bar at this pub, which was pretty popular, especially on sunny days as we had a lot of outdoor seating and a pretty huge beer garden. Now, the story takes place one exceptionally hot summer Sunday. For those of you who have the joy of not being all that familiar with our tea and crumpet society, I'll enlighten you as to why this is a pain for working in a pub. Firstly, the moment the sun blesses our sodden gray land with its presence, we British come out of our thatched caves to bask in its glow like the lizard people our royal family is. This subsequently also means everyone had the exact same thought of, let's go have a pint at the pub and sit in the sun. Yay for bartending. The other noteworthy point here is that on Sunday, a roast is had. Beef, lamb, chicken, or pork with roasted potatoes, veggies, gravy, and Yorkshire puddings. All of which is wonderful unless you have to spend 2 hours cooking it. With that out of the way, this particular Sunday we were full, and I mean full. Bar 4 or 5 people deep. The 100 plus tables all double booked for turnover, and I found myself without a moment's respite between pouring drinks and telling people we were fully booked. During this manic rush, I spot a bit of commotion outside and see a group of roughly 30 to 35 people, including screaming kids, walking through the courtyard, ignoring everyone and into the beer garden. Once my colleague and I had thinned down the numbers at the bar substantially, I told him I was going to walk past to see what the huge group was doing. Anyone that's worked with real-life people, of course, knows that people suck. Hence why I just wanted to walk past and avoid interaction. Also, it's a pet peeve of mine when people just sit themselves down, ignoring all the staff and expecting us to accommodate them without even the courtesy of mentioning to someone that they're here. So I take a step past the threshold of the bar, always dangerous, and that day a choice I regretted, and walked through the beer garden, collecting empty glasses as I go. As I near the area, the group has settled in, as far away from the building as possible, I might add. I avoid eye contact at all costs. You're not going to come say hi, then I can't see you. Walking past the group, I'm spotted by a very angry woman, the Alpha Karen if you will, snapping her fingers at me to try and get my attention as I tried to get away. She stormed up to me and stared me dead in the face. "Excuse me, we've been waiting here for the last 15 minutes and no one has come to give us the menus. What the heck are you all doing?" I'll admit, I was momentarily in shock as the group had to walk through the courtyard and must have seen the crowds of people and stressed waiters everywhere. "I'm sorry, madam, but I had no idea you were here. Did you speak with anyone to let us know?" Then what I saw was a rage build just below her plasticized skin. "Yes, I spoke with the redhead." No one that worked there was a redhead. Well, anyway, I want some menus. We're starving. I looked past her and asked how many there were. We're 36 people. That's not a problem, is it? She said, without so much as a hint of understanding why this was ridiculous. Well, yes, actually. That's quite a lot for a walk-in, and you probably saw on your way in we're extremely busy. I'm afraid we have no tables available, and we don't serve food in the beer garden. You'll have to try your luck at getting a table in the courtyard, but I can't imagine you'll be able to find enough seating for the 36 of you, and I simply can't hold tables for you, turning other guests away. The reality is that I could, but simply didn't want to. She stared at me for a moment and then said, You don't serve food in the beer garden? Or you won't serve me food in the beer garden? No, madam. The establishment does not serve food in the beer garden. Ugh, fine. Look, can we just have chips then, for the kids? They're starving. I thought about it for a moment, deciding if I was really willing to put up with this or if I should just say no and send them on their way. Against my better judgment, I said okay, but they would have to sit in the courtyard once the tables were available and asked roughly how many portions of chips they would be wanting. She replied 6, and I said that's probably fine, but she'll have to go inside to order. This did not sit well with her, and she started to get very cross. On my way back in, I swung by the kitchen to let them know what's up and to expect 6 chip orders, but not to rush them because the woman was in enormous pain. I get back to the bar and it's busy again, 3 to 4 people deep, so I immediately jump in and start pouring pints. A few minutes later, I hear, Oh, for God's sake, this is ridiculous, and immediately know who it is. This tiny angry woman pushes her way through the crowd and snaps her fingers at me to get my attention. You, I want to order my chips, and hurry it up, the kids are hungry. Okay, I'll put them on now. 6 portions, correct? No, 17. Sufficient to say, I was bewildered. Madam, that's not what we discussed. I'll have to see if the kitchen can even do that. We're very busy. Well, go on then. Run along to the kitchen, she barked. As I was about to, I hear, Actually, can you make it 35? Madam, I'll be honest with you. There's no way you'll get them all at once. It's simply too many for the fryer. It'll have to be in batches, and it's going to take a while as there are more pressing orders ahead of you. You will also need to pay up front. I don't care. Bring them one by one if you have to. As soon as one is ready, bring it out. Bingo. I went and spoke with the chef, explaining what was going on. Rude woman, many chips, one by one. He laughed, and we decided to do exactly as she asked. Bring on the malicious compliance. So, despite being very, very busy, as soon as one portion of chips was ready, I took it out. One portion, only one. She was not pleased. What the heck is this? I said 35 portions, not one. As I explained to you inside, madam, 35 portions is simply far too many for our fryers to handle, and there's a substantial number of other orders ahead of you. I had to try very hard to hide my grin at this point. But, what the heck do you expect me to do with this? Perhaps you could have 1 chip each per portion, and I swiftly turned and walked away. Following this, every 10 to 15 minutes, I would take out 1 more, and only 1 more portion of chips to the group. By about portion 12, they had been there several hours and were fed up. They tried to complain to the manager, but she was so rude and disrespectful to myself, my manager and other staff members, that he dismissed her, stating that I had explained clearly to her that we were very busy, had told me to bring them out 1 portion at a time if need be. They left very angry, and we had 23 portions of chips paid for that the staff got to enjoy later on. Edit. Also, a few people have mentioned they feel bad for the rest of the group. Well, don't. I didn't mention it because it wasn't really relevant to the malicious compliance, but they were all pretty rude and finger-snappy. For anyone worried about the kids, they got the first bowl of chips, covered most of the table in ketchup, smashed 3 or 4 chips into the table, and left at least 1/3 of the chips. I don't think they were nearly as hungry as Alpha Karen tried to preach. Also, thanks for the awards, everyone. My mother thinks she's entitled to child support forever. For context, I'm a 25-year-old female, have moved out from my mother's place a year ago to live with my boyfriend. I live in another country even. I have 2 younger brothers who are 23 and 21 years old. My mother just recently called me and informed me that my father had sent her a document and signed letter saying he would be cutting off child support completely very soon. She was absolutely outraged by it and told me that he probably did it rubbing his hands and laughing about it. As usual, she's acting like she's the poor victim and things are being done against her with malicious intent, and it upsets me. She has always been this way. Nothing is ever her fault. So I did tell her, Mom, you're not the victim here. Child support is, like its name implies, to support the kids. But it's all the income I have. That's your problem, with only you to blame for. She did not like that response, of course. I've told my mother to get a darn job for years. Not so long ago, she was leeching off of my salary. Then she kept whining to me about her money issues when I moved out in hopes that I would be giving her money. I don't know what I'm gonna do, she'd say. And I know, get a job, was usually my reply. She's the laziest person I know. All day, every day, she sits on her butt and browses the internet. That's all she does. My brother and I would bring her job opportunities on a platter. She always found an excuse not to take it. It's only now that my father is actually going to stop paying child support that she's actively looking for a real job. Why? Because until now, she was comfortable resting on that. But what really drove me nuts is when she said, he's asking for all of your situations. Maybe since your brother is disabled, he'll keep paying for him, and I can probably get him to keep paying for the others as well, since he's struggling to find work. But he will cut yours off for sure, knowing what a jerk he is. So, 1. Way to use my blind brother as a money cow. 2. What the heck do you mean, knowing what a jerk he is? I'm 25 and I don't live with you anymore. There's 0 reasons why you should keep getting child support for me. In fact, since we're all adults, you shouldn't be getting any more child support at all. You shouldn't have for the past 3 years. Did you seriously think you could just demand child support forever and live the rest of your life getting free money instead of working for it like everyone else? What the actual heck? Am I the jerk for choosing my dog over my mom and her fiancé? My dad passed when I was 15, and I'm now 17, male. Last year, my mom started going out with Anthony, and they just got engaged. Anthony wanted to move in, but the problem is, he's severely allergic to dogs. My mom told me we had to get rid of Dax, my dog. Like, not even as a question, just straight up said that's what we're gonna do. I fought with my mom over this because he's my family, and that's what helped me get through losing my dad. Dax was my dad's dog that he rescued from a shelter when he was still a puppy, and we've had him since I was 11, so he means a lot to me. But my mom was like, nope, he has to go. We fought so much about it that I actually cried. Nobody wanted to adopt Dax though, and I had to beg my grandpa from my dad's side to take him, or else my mom was going to take him to a shelter. The problem was, my grandpa lives an hour away, and he can't do much physical stuff like take him out for walks, feed him, take him to vets, etc., and no one around to help him take care of a dog. My grandpa suggested I could move here with him, since all of my classes are on Zoom and I'm graduating in June anyways. I told my mom I want to move in with my grandpa so I can be with Dax. She got really mad about that, and she says that they, her and Anthony, are my family, and I need to be with them. But I told her, 1, Anthony's not my family. I have my own problems with him because he kept talking about being my new dad, and I don't like that crap. But he doesn't listen when I tell him to stop saying he's my new dad, because he's not. And 2, Dax is my family, and she made me get rid of him just like that. My grandpa's my family too anyways. Last week I got my stuff, and my uncle helped me move to my grandpa's house. My mom's still been mad. She's not gonna force me to come back, but she's still saying I'm being a really crappy son, that I'm choosing to be with my dog instead of with them. But it hurt too much being without him. He was taken to my grandpa's a week before I left, and all that time I was up crying missing him. And I know he missed me too, because he lost it when I got there. My mom keeps telling me to come back and stop being cruel with her, but I'm happy here with my dog. I get she's got someone new to be happy with, and that's cool, it's her life. But why can't I be happy too with my dog living with me? Does it make me a jerk that I basically did choose Dax over her? Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his mom? Please let us know. Definitely the mom. I'd choose Dax over her too, any day. I defeated a Karen with witchcraft. I'm not even sure how to start this one, so I'll just tell you the cast of major characters. We've got me, we've got Sentry, a crow, and we've got Karen, a pompous weirdo. This happened around a year ago, but I kept hesitating on whether or not it was worth being told, and then I had to think of a sufficiently clickbaity title. So, since moving into the apartment, I'd lost the ability to walk and needed a wheelchair, but my landlord wouldn't let me have a ramp. So, since I didn't have any friends or family and disability services in Kansas, I had to do something else for social interaction. I started throwing torn up pieces of stale bread and potato chip crumbs outside, which attracted a few types of birds. One time, a hawk came by and ate one of the sparrows I was watching. But if you love nature, you have to love all of it, not just the passive grazing animals. So I didn't chase it off. The hawk made eye contact with me through the window and gave me a little, like, "What you gonna do?" Later, some crows started coming by. So to feed the crows, I started getting popcorn and birdseed in my grocery deliveries. One of the crows usually perched in the tree overlooking my front door. If I didn't put popcorn out that day, she'd fly down and knock on the window next to my bed. In the winter, I'd see her footprints on my patio going up to the front door before she knocked on the screen. It wasn't just her either. Once she saw that I had food for her, she'd summon the rest of her friends. My neighbors saw this, and one of the neighbors came to talk to me through my window. Her cat was very much enjoying the show. We became friends, and she let me know that the car that kept parking in front of her apartment had a woman that gave her the creeps. "Karen, enter stage left. Your other left. You know what? We'll just move the stage over to where you're already standing." I had seen the car enough times, but didn't really pay attention. But after what I was told, I started to. When my neighbor brought her dog out to go potty, Karen would glare at her. Karen didn't even live in our complex. My neighbor would park right in front of her own apartment, and she worked 2 full-time jobs, and people would speed down our road all the time. It made sense she'd park where she did, but Karen would show up and park there and refuse to move if asked. So the neighbor had to park across the street at the school parking lot instead and walk back. What was Karen even doing? She showed up, parked outside the neighbor's yard, sat there smoking an entire pack of cigarettes, then drove away, glaring at anyone that was anywhere near her while she was around, even if it was their own home. I brought this up with the landlord, who said that the road our front doors faced wasn't part of the complex, so they didn't care. The police said she wasn't doing anything illegal, so they didn't care. I thought it was creepy and stalky, and so did my neighbor, but I guess our opinions don't count. Well, by this time, I had become pretty good friends with Sentry. I had a particular bad fall one day. I fall down and hurt myself every day due to my lack of any kind of home help, but I'm used to it. One day it was worse than usual, and I had to call the paramedics. Karen had since chosen, slightly further back, spots to park along our curb, and was now choosing to not get out of the way for the ambulance that was trying to get me to the emergency room. When I got home, I decided that that was the last straw. If no human was going to help us against Karen, I knew who would. I would definitely rely on her. She came to check on me far more often than a human ever did. I popped 2 bags of popcorn, and as soon as I saw Karen light up a cigarette, I walked outside. I held up one of the bags of popcorn, shaking it. Sentry was already there in the tree looking at me, but I liked going the extra mile for her, just like she did for me. I walked right up to Karen's car. She wasn't even looking at me. She was busy looking down at something and smoking. I opened the bag and dumped it all over the hood of her car. Then I did the other one and walked inside. Alfred Hitchcock would have been proud of you, Sentry. I know my neighbor and I were, since Karen never came back. Am I the jerk for blowing up at my wife after what she did at my workplace? I, male 37, started working at my dad's friend's restaurant in 2016. Started off small, but was able to gain my employer's trust. And after seeing how I've been managing the restaurant on days he wasn't available, he decided to assign me to handle restaurant management. That means overseeing day-to-day operations, handling customer complaints, providing service, managing shifts, and putting together schedules and so on. I'm not really the manager, but the staff thinks I am. My relationship and interaction with the staff have changed a bit, but it's got nothing to do with my behavior. My wife is my biggest supporter. She was thrilled after I told her I'm directly handling management. But I made it clear I'm not the manager, so I have limited authority. I'm not the ultimate decision maker in this establishment. Still, she went to tell everyone that her husband is now the manager of his workplace. Even posted about it, but I told her to take it down immediately. She showed up at the restaurant, doesn't normally eat there, and brought her friends with her. There were 5 of them. She invited them for lunch and ordered plenty of dishes. Then she embarrassed the waitress by refusing to pay, telling everyone she's the wife of the manager and she shouldn't pay. She started arguing with the waitress, then went home. In 2 hours, I got a call from the waitress wanting to talk about what happened and why I fired her. I was shocked. I had no clue. She showed me the message that was sent from my Facebook, but I swore I didn't do it. I didn't even know my wife came to the restaurant. Turned out, my wife sent the message on my behalf and fired the waitress, claiming her behavior was rude and unprofessional. I was livid. I got berated by the manager after he found out, and I begged and explained that it was a mistake. a misunderstanding, and was able to give an alibi as to when this message was sent. Thankfully, he was patient and graceful. I got home and I confronted her. She confirmed everything, even the message. I blew up. Told her she almost caused me my entire job with her unacceptable behavior. For the millionth time, I told her I'm not the manager and she needed to stop using this as an excuse to behave like this. She started crying after I told her to apologize to the waitress after this, packed her stuff, and left. I was so angry, I smoked a cigarette even though I've been trying to quit. Her parents, my in-laws, called, demanding to know what their daughter did other than be excited for my new position, and that I was wrong to cause her to cry when all she's ever been is supportive and encouraging. After they insisted I mishandled this argument, I just stopped talking to them. I'm now required to visit as soon as possible and bring flowers and apologize to my wife for yelling, but I haven't done anything yet. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. Hey, if she packed her bags and left, it sounds like the problem is already solved. Guests are mad over more than one person with the same name. For the purpose of this post, my name is Sarah. The hotel I work at has 3 of us with this name. Myself and another girl are regular FDAs. The third one is operations manager. After about a month, I noticed guests started realizing there are 3 of us with the same name. And as with the staff, this creates some confusion. Someone will call or come in saying they spoke to me. I would stare blankly and try to figure it out before I realize, oh, I'm sorry, there's more than one Sarah here. Would you please give me your name? And guests will always just look confused and sometimes offended. Less than often when people notice, they just laugh and brush it off. More often than not, people get confused or offended. Yesterday's call was a prime example. Me. Thank you for calling our hotel. This is Sarah. How may I help you? Him. Yeah, I'm calling about my comped stay, which you gave me to accommodate me from a bad experience. First of all, we don't comp future stays, and I'm so glad. My last hotel did that all the time, and all it did was elicit unnecessary issues. If you had a bad experience, we will comp your stay and or find another way to accommodate you for that stay. More points, free gift shop items, late checkout, etc. Not a future one. Me. Oh, okay. I was confused as heck trying to handle this because he was so abrasive. Him. Yeah, so I want to come in tonight. Me. Okay, I think I need to speak to a manager first about this or transfer you to one. I cannot just make a reservation and comp it without management approval. FDAs don't have that authority. Him. You told me it was comped. Me. I'm sorry, I believe you have the wrong person. Was it a manager who told you this? Yeah, Sarah X. Me. Oh, that's not me. I have the same name, but that is my operations manager. She isn't in right now, but I will. Him. What? Me. There's more than one Sarah at this property. Him. Well, are you gonna make my reservation? I want to come in today. Me. I would have to talk to a manager first about making a reservation for a comp stay. If you give me your name, I can leave a message for my manager and click. I asked my manager and she said no one was getting a future comp stay, which confirmed what I mentioned earlier. The fact that he was such a jerk and never gave me his name also confirms he was full of crap. Sometimes guests will waltz in and say some BS like, I was on the phone with you and you told me XYZ. I'm sorry, that was another person with the same name. If you provide me with your name and the nature of the conversation, I will be happy to help. They literally do not believe us most of the time. Would I be the jerk if I just up and left my family for a few days? I'm definitely the responsible party in my family. Significant other, 1 biological kid, 3 stepkids, 3 dogs, and 2 cats that manages this household as far as financially and keeping it presentable. A little more than 2 weeks ago, I had surgery that put me on my butt. I stayed in the bedroom or at the kitchen table all day, every day, and was never awake for more than 3 hours at a time. It's been rough, but I'm on the mend, and now I can drive and stay awake for a reasonable amount of time, and I'm not on meds anymore. So during my 2 weeks or so of being down, my house is now trashed. My family has destroyed it. It looks bad, it smells bad, and I'd be embarrassed to have company come calling. I scrubbed this house the night before surgery to the point you could eat off my floors, which is pretty much how I keep my home all the time. I don't feel like it's my job to come in after more than 2 weeks and clean up for my lazy, disrespectful family. So I'd like to get a hotel a couple of hours away. Leave them a note telling them why I'm gone, when I'll return, and what I expect to be done before I come home. If it's not done, I would leave again, and I'd make that very clear in the letter. I'm also planning to tell them that I will use the Christmas savings money for every additional day I stay in a hotel. So the longer it takes them to get crap done, the less toys and such they'll get for Christmas. I feel incredibly disrespected. I'm ashamed of my home and my family for the way they have allowed it to get. I've spent every moment where I feel even a little bit capable of it trying to clean this house up enough that I'm not disgusted. I can't keep up, and I shouldn't have had to try. I know it typically falls on me to clean, and they've always had the expectation that mom will take care of everything, but I've warned them that they have to start taking on some responsibilities. It's not fair to me that they get to go live it up, and I just have to stay home and clean to feel comfortable in my own home. So, would I be the jerk if I just took off for a few days and left it in their hands? Also, I cleaned up any mess that I made in the bedroom and at the table, as well as cleaned my bio kid's room, as she is on visit with her dad for a week. Everything else I feel like it's their mess to clean. Want to add, they all left me alone for the weekend with the pets and went camping, assuming I'd clean the house while they're gone. They came straight home this morning and have been in bed since. Don't stop now, you're on a roll, so please come watch this video next and we'll see you when you get there. Have us make any kind of video you'd like us to by heading over to our Fiverr, link pinned in the comments below. And join as a channel member today and we'll give you a special shout out in our next video.